Welcome to this tutorial where we are going to speak about spacing. So what is spacing? Spacing is basically margins, paddings, and stacking order. So margin is, let me go to the browser. Margin is basically the space on the outside of your HTML5 element or HTML element if there's going to change from HTML5. So margin is the space on the outside of your HTML element. Padding is the space on the inside for whatever is inside that HTML element, like let's say your text. So how you decide the distance between the border of your element and the text inside it, that's padding. To help you understand better, you're going to start again. Let me copy this HTML5, the template that we created, and paste it. This is going to be tutorial number 5 and is based on spacing. Okay, so I'm just going to change this into spacing, and yes, we've linked that. As always, we are going to have everything inside a container class and having a h1 that says what we are doing, and this h1 needs to have a class of success, that green text, and a margin y of, let's say, 3. And it's good that we're going to learn about these margin classes in this tutorial, and we are saying these are Bootstrap classes. Okay, let's see. Yes, it is happening, and I'm so excited to be passing through this. So let's put our first heading. That's heading 4 with the same classes like they are heading 1. And remember, you don't need this. This is not part of the series tutorial, the heading class, because we've already passed through the heading classes. Just that I'm putting this so that you'll be able to differentiate between the section if you're using the boilerplate template that I'm going to provide either way. So margin top of that, and the first one is applying margin. Applying margins everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to use a context class here, which is let's say a div with a context class of danger. Remember, we learned about these classes, and this is temporary text. If I save this and go to the browser, this is how it appears. Perfect. Now you see, I said margins are the spaces outside, paddings are the spaces inside, but first we start with margins, because if we are not able to do that, then we will just miss the whole gist of understanding margins and paddings. The first class is, if you want, we have 5 different contexts of margins, so you can apply from margin 1 to margin 5. And if you want to apply margins all over, let's say everywhere I meant to the top, to the left, to the right here, and to the bottom. If it's one margin fits all of them and applied all over, you just use the m-1. That's the first context class, and you can see it's moved. Remember, without the margin class, if I save it, see, it's all the way to the end here. If I use this, you can see it's all the way to the end here. Let me remove that, and now if I apply the margin 1, it doesn't get to the end. A class of margin 1 is applied to it. If we can check what margin 1 actually refers to, it's a margin of 0.25 frames. That's relative measurement. As I said, there are 5 contextual classes for margin, and in advanced Bootstrap you'll be able to shift those. So 2, 3, 4, 5. If I change this to M2, M3, M4, and M5, boom, you'll see. So that's how you apply the margins, and it applies both to the right, left, top, and bottom. That's how you apply margins to all the sides. Next, if we want to learn about how to apply only to the top and the bottom, we can apply So remember the axis we used to do, as I like just putting here end of coding so that I do not type away from the container class, so that everything is centered on our browser like this. So if we want to apply only on the top and the bottom, we can just change the class to be y, because this is how the y axis goes and this is how the x axis goes. So my is what we are going to do, and it's all the way from my1 to my5. If I save that, top and bottom, save. Now these are the margins on top. See, it's not affecting the left and the right, it's just affecting the top and the bottom, as you can see, from 1 all the way to 5. Now the opposite is also true. We can do left and right, and as I said, this is the y-axis. So if you want to apply top and bottom, you apply to the y-axis. That's why it's my. And if you want to apply to the bottom axis, I mean to the x-axis, that's left and right, you guessed right, we're going to do mx, and here I shift to left and right, and here we do, let me just use mx as always, my best friend, mx, save. And the thing with mx1 all the way to mx5 is it will clearly show you a stacking order. As you can see, it's applied all the way up to number 5, and m5 basically just refers to, I think, 3 rems. Yeah, it's here. Margin left and right is 3 rems, all the way from 0.5, 0.25 rems to 3 rems left and right. Okay, so next, if you just want to apply only to the top, and let me just place this one. This one should probably come on top of this. Only to the top. Margins top only. Then we just do empty. T stands for top. So I'm just going to press that. And if apply margins to the top only, you see, all the way from 0.25 again to the top to 3 rems on the top, and it only applies it to the top, not to the bottom, to the top. And that explains why our margin, I mean our h4, which separates all the topics that we are passing through, has a margin top of 3. So it will always have a margin at the top. Okay. Also, you can apply a margin to the bottom, and to do that, you just do m bottom, which stands for margin bottom, mb. If I do that, bottom, you can see the top is the same, but the bottom, we're just having space on the bottom. 0.25 again, all the way to 3 rems. On the x-axis, which is here with us, we can still do the same, which is margin right and margin left. So that's on the start and the end. Start is here for the left and end is here for the right one. Remember, we passed through that and explained what it means on the browser. So if I want to have margin left, we just do m start. If I change all this b to s for start, you can see left, it's only applied to the left, and the right is still aligned the same way. If I want to only apply it to the right, margin right, so it's the end. Remember? When you guessed it right, ME, which stands for the end. And you can see it's only applied to the right hand side. This you can apply to any element depending on what your need at the moment is, and you're not limited to what HTML element you can apply it to. But what if you want to actually center your items? And for me to actually apply that, we need to have a specific width of these items, because if they're occupying the whole browser, we will not be able to know. And to do that, I'm going to paste again and saying center margins, right? And to do that, I need to apply probably a width, if I'm not wrong. And luckily we have a class in Bootstrap that allows us to have a width. So I'm going to delete this classes, the margin classes, and just apply a width of if it's half, then probably 50. Save. This is how so they are all left aligned. But if I want to actually center them, it's just as easy as applying. So how do you want to center them, right? Do you want it to be centered in all sides? Then the first class will be auto, auto. So auto. If I do that, you see it's centered on the browser. So left and right centered. If I want it to be centered on the browser on the y-axis, then you do my. Remember? Auto. I don't think it's going to show much because we've not put a height of the browser, but that's how you do it. If I want to actually let's have a trial and see if ME, so ME auto, if it chooses the end, see it's not doing anything. But if I apply the MX auto to all of them, it's going to center all of them. Look at this. I don't know how it does it, but it does it. It just applies center. Okay, MX auto. You see, if MX auto is used on the element, is going to center it in the x-axis. This is the horizontal axis. If MY auto and we've given a height, let's see, height of 50, let's say, if that's we'll actually remove that and just put style height 100 pixels. Let's see. You see, it's not going to do because the parent is not available. I'm going to cut this element here and have another div, and this tile is actually supposed to be applied to the parent, if I remember well. This is temporary text. My apologies for that. Sometimes it happens that you have not. Let me plug this in before we lose this tutorial. So it has a height of 50, and I've done an my auto. Let me just try and see. If it doesn't work, it's because probably my auto. Wow, so it just applies the height and not what is inside of it. So but in certain aspects, if you've actually put a width, I mean a width and a height, it's supposed to be able to actually center it on the y-axis. I'm not going to delete that because sometimes you might want to experiment with that. That said, we can now head into padding, and the reason why I'm not diving deeper into this is because I just wanted to let you know that these classes exist. the M auto. If you want to apply it in all sides of your margin, and especially the x-axis, it is going to center it. If you specifically want to center it on the horizontal axis, you can use the MX auto. If it's y-axis, you can use the MY auto. Okay, so that's how you'll be able to center your margins or your element. Now let's see how we can apply padding. And the way to do padding is, let me just copy this heading first. Yep, let's padding everywhere. And the way to do it is, I'm going to create an element first of all and put a margin, and then from there we can actually put padding. Now if it's a div element, and actually let's use element, I'm going to use, let's say, the same one, danger, because we want a background of red, and a margin of 3. Margin of 3. That's how you put several classes. And padding tried out. I'm just putting temporary text on it, and probably let me just copy that and do, I don't want it, let's say my3. I want this to be in the same line like that to have some good use of real estate. It looks like that. Applying padding. Okay, so my, let's use 2. Yep, and it's going to have distance between the two. Actually, we can use 3. I don't know why I'm so conservative on that. So this is padding tried out. And if we remember, margin head all the way from margin 1 to margin 5. The same thing with padding. It's padding 1 all the way to padding 5. So to apply it everywhere, similarly to, or similar to 4, 5, similar to margins where we use M, we are going to use P to actually apply padding all the way from padding 1 to padding 5. So this is 2, applying a padding of 2, padding of 3, padding of 4, padding of 5, and that's how it is. See, unlike margins which are on the outside, padding are in the inside, so your text is getting a padding. So this is padding 1, padding 2, padding 3, padding 4, and padding 5. If I'm not wrong, it applies the same type of size, like 0.25 all the way to 3 rems. Oh, 1 rem. It's 3 rems. Yeah, I'm right. It's 3 rems all the way. Okay, so that's how you apply padding all round. If you want to actually have context to it, be it top or bottom, just start with top. We are going to use top and bottom. We are going to use py, just the same way like margins. So if I do that and say top and bottom, and then I just add py to this. Why? If I save that, you'll see it's only on the top. Can see it's increasing the margin only on the top. P1 sometimes might act like it's not adding anything, but there's actually a padding on the top and bottom because it's py. You see, the x-axis is not being the horizontal is not getting any padding. But if I want to actually add padding on the horizontal side, so right and left, I can actually do px. So I'll just highlight all of this. Spacing is so interesting, and you can see right and left we get some padding. Okay, so that's how you are able to add padding left and right, top and bottom. But situations exist where you only want to add your padding to the top or only to the bottom. let's try and explore that. So if I want to actually apply padding to the top only, let me remove that. So it's like margins, we're just going to change the Y to T, so it's going to be PT. So padding top, and if I save that, you see the top is getting a padding. The same way to bottom. If I paste again and bottom, the padding bottom, the acronym for bottom is B, so it's PB. PB. We said you're going to get a padding on the bottom only, and it's the styling is the same as the margin type of styling that we did, only that it's on the inside. If we want to only apply to the right, let me actually copy this, right and left, where it was the x-axis. So if it's only to the left, let's start with left. Yeah, padding left. We'll do, remember we said left is start, right is end. So we're going to do this. If it's left, it's start. Save, and let's see. See, it's applied on the left. The padding, which is inside the HTML5 element, is applying that padding to our text. If we want to apply it to the right, I'm going to change that and change all this, and you guessed right, that's E for end. Padding end. You see, so nothing much is happening here because again it's by default left aligned, so no matter what we apply here, it's going to be on this end. Okay, so that's why we are not getting the padding on the end, but that's how you can apply a padding on the right. And that finally leads us to the stacking order, and stacking order is just defining what is on top of the other. And if I'm to explain that, let me just paste something like that. And there are two types of stacking, that's the vertical stack and the horizontal stack. And to better, let me just code this one out. There are things you can't paste, copy and paste. So applying stacking, V stacking, which is vertical stacking, and I'm going to have a class, a div with a class of V stack, which is vertical stacking. Then inside we are going to have probably 3 different divs, so div times 3, we each with a class of so see how this is how you do, each with a class of padding, which is on all sides a padding of 3, and yeah, times 3. I want 3 of them. Then I do tab. Okay, so I'm going to say div 1, div 2, and div 3. Next, I'm going to also be prompt and go to the browser and see what's going to happen. You see, div 1 all the way to div 3. That's how the stacking order is going to be. If you want to have some background, we're going to do our lovable red background. Danger. So people don't love red, but that's how it is. If now we want to decide the distance between each of these, because it's vertical stacking, we apply what is called a gap, and I'm going to apply a gap of 3. It goes all the way to gap 5, but I'm going to apply a gap of 3, and you can see there's some distance between the two. So this is how we apply gaps in vertical aligned items. If we want to actually shift this to horizontal, just copy this and I'll say apply H stacking, and instead of V stack, H stack. It's as simple as that. and it's going to be horizontally stacked, as you can see, but it's also putting a gap because we put in a gap of 3. So that's how stacking is also handled in Bootstrap 5. We've learned everything about spacing, not probably everything, but most of it. See you in the next tutorial. We'll be talking about borders and shadows. See you then. Bye bye.